Mickey, afternoon. I'm going to set you off nice and quickly on this blog with the big subject.
Mayweather McGregor, the fight that unfortunately everyone is talking about. I mean, for me, there's nothing really that appealing. I mean, I suppose, you know, it's a bit like watching Britain's Got Talent or something. You know, you're out of a sort of perverse sense of intrigue. You don't want to miss it. You want to see it. And I will watch it. I will definitely watch it. Do I think it would be a great fight? No, absolutely not. I mean, Mayweather is a safety first counter-puncher. And McGregor, contrary to some of the things that you hear about him, he's actually a counter-puncher himself. So two counter-punchers fighting each other is normally a recipe for a stinker. And I think it's all very well talking about things, but when he gets in, and I think very quickly you're going to realise Mayweather's going to be landing clean on him. I don't think Mayweather will come flying in. That's not the sort of fighter he is. But when he is landing cleanly and he's picking McGregor off, the next thing you do is, okay, if I can get away with that, next time I'll throw 3 punches rather than 2. Next time I'll throw to the head, and if he doesn't move his head immediately the moment they let the punch down, there's another one going to be coming. And as soon as that happens, McGregor's going to get caught and caught and caught again. And I don't think, as a spectacle, as a fight, it'd be much good. I think Mayweather has to win it convincingly. He has to. If he doesn't, I think he really will jeopardise his legacy that he's worked so hard to build. He has to win this in first gear.
Is it unthinkable?
I think it's completely unthinkable. I mean, for me, I've looked at, when you hear these MMA guys saying, "Oh, but McGregor's striking game is ours." It's not. He's not a good puncher. The technique of his punches. I mean, he has youth on Mayweather. He's a younger guy. I mean, as you'll see one day, Adam, you'll reach 40 hopefully, and you can tell the difference between yourself at 40 and mid-20s for sure. From an athletic point of view, you can, you know, and it's not like Mayweather is a bad liver, he's a clean liver, so I think he'll be a young 40, but he's had a lot of hard fights in that time. But I just think McGregor, like I say, he's a standoff counter-puncher, ideally. He might get forced into a fight, which he probably will at some point here, because I think Mayweather will just get bored of pot-shotting him and start throwing the 2s, 3s and the bigger shots. And at that point, I think he probably stop McGregor. Well, will stop McGregor, in my opinion. If wrestling and kicking were allowed in this fight, the blog would be completely different. Completely different. McGregor's clearly very good at what he does. He's younger. He is clearly a quick learner. So there has been some videos circulating, like on YouTube and stuff, of the sparring, the boxing sparring that McGregor did. But because he's a quick learner, I don't think that those video clips are actually going to be that relevant to the McGregor we see in the fight, because you can see he's a smart guy, despite the way he comes across. He talks like he's maybe like a nutcase, you know, a bit out there. He's not, right? He's an intelligent guy. You can see in MMA how much he's improved. Look at his early MMA fights. He's clearly a thinking fighter. Does that give him a realistic chance of winning? In my opinion, absolutely not. No. I mean, I can't see him being able to cause problems for Floyd. Floyd's a guy who has boxed in a boxing match against the top guys of his generation. And the people really that caused him problems, you could say, I would actually say Hatton early on caused him problems. Maidana. There were guys with fast hands who came forwards, which McGregor doesn't have fast hands, and he doesn't come forwards. Given the choice, he'll stand off. So is he going to cause problems to Mayweather, even if he was on that level of boxing? And I honestly think if you put McGregor on what I've seen of him in the London ABAs and the North East Divs, he doesn't get through the first round. He will get beat in the North East Divs of the London ABAs. And now you're talking about putting him into probably the best fighter of our generation. The best pound-for-pound fighter of our generation. Unthinkable, absolutely. I mean, and from Mayweather's point of view, financially it's a win-win, and you've got to say from McGregor, look, the guy's come from nowhere, and he's getting a reported $50 million paycheck. I've got to take my hat off to him, and you can't blame him from taking the fight. I think the UFC's marketing strategy, their main marketing strategy has been to mention Mayweather, because they know, it's clever again on UFC marketing, because they know if they mention Mayweather, we get column inches. Oh, Ronda Rousey will beat Floyd Mayweather. That was the first thing. And it was like not one or two press releases that was like maybe something accidentally mentioned. It was clearly an effort that they made. It was a decision they'd taken to, right, every day we're going to send out a new press release saying about how Ronda Rousey wants to fight Mayweather and she beat him, probably knowing it will never happen. How can Mayweather justify fighting Ronda Rousey? To be honest, how can he justify fighting Floyd McGregor? Conor McGregor, he can't justify it, in my eyes. Owned purely from probably one last big payday. Can understand. He's not going to earn probably forever, and he needs to get the fights in, and to get to 50-0. I mean, I think that's significant as well. You know, it's nice to go one better than Rocky Marciano, and I think it's inevitable that he will in this fight, even if it's not a world title defence. It's still going to be a sanctioned fight. I'd be interested to hear the reasons that the Nevada State Athletic Commission give as to how they came to that decision to sanction it, because if Mayweather absolutely smashes him, then the commission's got to sort of explain, well, you know, we sanction this. I mean, what fights don't we sanction if we do sanction this one? I think there's so many things about it. I mean, the date of the fight, it's the end of August. That's very curious to do a pay-per-view fight at the end. It's not traditionally a pay-per-view date, and also, I mean, they must just be so confident of selling it, and I think they'll sell it. I mean, I think it will be, from a tickets point of view, I think it will be equivalent to Mayweather versus Pacquiao. I think everyone, and like I said, I'll watch it, and I wouldn't go there. I mean, I definitely wouldn't go to the other side of the Atlantic to watch it, but I will watch it on TV, and I think that's it. It's an event everyone wants to have been there, been sort of doing their selfies and part of the event. I think as soon as they start, I think everyone's suddenly going to get a wake-up call that Mayweather is clearly head and shoulders above anything that can be offered from McGregor. And like I say, if McGregor was allowed to kick and wrestle and do his sort of MMA type things, that's a completely different matter. He's not. He's actually a stronger person. I don't think he's a bigger puncher, but I think he's a stronger person than Mayweather. His core strength. You can see when you watch the MMA. I'm not an expert in MMA. I enjoy. If I'm in a hotel and there's no boxing on and there is MMA, I'll watch it. But more often than not, I think, God, the boxing skills here are absolutely shocking. You know, like terrible. And I just think, I mean, seeing as they're competing in the boxing ring, McGregor's got big problems, and I don't see the age. The one big argument you could have from McGregor, well, Mayweather's now 40. Mayweather knows how to coast. He knows how to box in first gear, and I think that will take him through, and it will actually negate the age difference that they've got between them. One thing I'll be quite interested in is, as the event comes closer, because TV networks have to sell this fight, they have to sell the fight, and I think at that moment in time, the question that I'm going to have is, like, there's going to be people that are going to stand up, and their opinion of it is going to be, oh, well, McGregor's got a chance, and I'll tell you what motivates that point. I can tell you what it is. The TV network's going to say, right, you've got to go and make this sound. You know, he's got a puncher's chance. He hasn't got a puncher's chance because he doesn't punch hard enough to knock Mayweather out. I will run through the centre of the streets of London from East End to West End naked if he knocks Mayweather out. It's not going to happen. And you're probably thankful for that, actually. If not,
I was going to say, I've got my headline now.
yeah. So, he's not knocking out Floyd Mayweather. I'd be actually surprised if he lands a punch on him in the whole fight. Mayweather's movement, his defence is probably, is the best that's out there. And McGregor's punching is far from even really an average pro's punching. And I think pretty quickly we'll see the I think that it's a nice story and it's sellable. That's the thing. It's a guy that came from nowhere. Conor McGregor, he seems like a sort of a down to earth, like a bit of a crank sometimes, but I don't think he is a crank. I think he's been quite clever. And it's like when I get a phone call for a journeyman, sometimes you look at it and I just think, well, I'm not taking that fight because that guy's way, way, way too good for him, so we'll turn it down. But just at that point where you're thinking that, you say, well, what's the money for it? And if they only pay average money, well, of course we're not going to take it. But the thing is, this is what would have happened in McGregor's head, presumably, when they offered him the fight. Well, I want $50 million. Right? That's reportedly what he's supposed to be getting paid. And they've said, yeah, okay. I will get $50 million for a night's work. Even if he has to train whatever.
I'd do an awful lot of things for $50 million.
Yeah, I'd be there for $1 million. But, okay, so, we'll see who puts themselves on the soapbox to say, this is a fight where McGregor, the charming Irishman, it's so sellable because it's like a nice down-to-earth kid from the streets fighting a big bullying Mayweather, and that's a sellable storyline. But who's going to stand there before? We'll see. They'll be on our screens saying, oh, well, McGregor, he's younger, he's got that awesome striking game, man. No, he hasn't. Not in a boxing ring.
They'll all be crawling out though, come near at the time.
And I think it was all very well when UFC kept using Mayweather's brand to publicise themselves, but it's bitten them on the arse now. Because I don't think that, from what I can see, the way it looks like the fight's made, it's all slanted in Mayweather's favour. And because of that, that tells me that UFC can't be a big part of the negotiation process, because if they were, it would be more of a level playing field. I'm not saying they'd have kicks and wrestling, but there'd be some things. But it seems like the way, I mean, it's all favouring Mayweather. And take it from me, I mean, I'm a gambling man. I'm seriously scrutinising those odds and working out how to optimise the situations. I think opportunities like that, they don't come up too often.
So apart from financially, what's your conclusion? Are there any good points for boxing from this? What can come of it that's good? Apart from Nevada making money.
It's going to be a fantastic event, and it's a bit like watching Britain's Got Talent. Like I say, it's going to be something that will be memorable. It'll be something that will be talked about for years to come. But as a boxing match, I don't think boxing benefits. I think if you think of the situation we had with Pacquiao and Mayweather, a lot of disappointed people saying they waste their money going to see it, etc., etc. And I think it's not a competitive fight. I mean, people saying, oh, but Conor McGregor, southpaw, Mayweather struggled against world-class elite southpaws, not Conor McGregor, who's completely the other end of the range. Like I say, yeah, I'll watch it, and I'll be happy to watch it, and I'll be intrigued I want to be part of, because it's just going to be a huge, amazing event. But does he have any realistic chance of winning? No. That's my answer. Anyway, okay, so that's going to be coming up, and we're getting ready for it. So good to speak to him. Anything else?
I think that's it for this week. Thank you very much, Mickey.
Thank you, Adam. Good luck, guys. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe. Give us a thumbs up.